I will jump in here. Housekeeping stuff. Yes, this will be recorded. It's recorded right now. We will send out the recording to you probably tomorrow morning, maybe mid-morning or so. If you don't see it, first place to look is always check your spam. For whatever reason, sending out recordings ends up in people's spam quite a bit. So we'll send you that. We'll send you a spot to download the slides if you want them. We have a wonderful free template today. So we have a template of all of the welcome series emails that we use. We will give that link to you as well. If you have questions as we go, please make sure hit the Q&A button on your screen. That way it pops up for me and for Stacy and for Ashley, and we can answer any of your questions that way. If you write your question in the chat, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to lose track of it because somebody else will say something and then I won't get back to it. And then I'll remember it 3 hours later and feel guilty that I never brought it up on the call. Okay, Ashley, did I miss any housekeeping items? What else do we usually cover here?
I think that's great. Yeah, the Q&A is the most important, so we'll be watching for those.
Excellent. Okay. And in the chat, let us know. Everybody's always interested. Who else is on the call? Let us know what organization you're calling in from and what city. You guys can make some friends there in the chat as we go. I'm joined here today by Stacy Cope, who's in charge of all of our automation services, and she's brilliant. And I'm joined by another brilliant coworker, Ashley Winans, who is our COO, and she oversees our consulting work that we do. Our team, just the one background slide that you get about PSG. We are a specialized firm. We're all data nerds at heart. We've been doing these webinars now for 2 years. Every time we do an experimental, we learn something, we put together a webinar, we share it with the world. We offer fundraising consulting to a very select group of nonprofits. We run annual appeals. We do Razor's Edge database administration. So actually, PSG is the largest consumer of Razor's Edge on planet Earth. Our team manages millions of records. We are the outsourced DBA for a whole bunch of big organizations. And we have some really fun automation stuff that Stacey is going to tell you about as we talk about building automation slides. Okay. You might also know us if you're on this webinar because you use Ask Genius. Ask Genius is the tool that we built. Today, we're not going to talk a whole bunch about it, but if you're curious what Ask Genius is, it is a tool that we built in our fundraising consulting practice to help set the perfect ask amounts. So you're about to mail 1,000 pieces of mail or 10,000 or 100,000, and you want to set the perfect ask amount to make sure that everybody on your list gets asked for the right amount. That's what Ask Genius does. You don't have to take our word for it that it works. You can just subscribe to the Wall Street Journal where they talk about how amazing it is and what happens when you invite everybody to give at a level that's appropriate for them. If you want, you can sign up for a demo there, but honestly, I think everybody on this call is probably already using Ask Genius. If you need the demo link, just let us know in the chat and Rob can drop it in there for you. All right, housekeeping done. Let's talk about donor welcome series. The first thing I think we need to keep in mind when we're talking about email content and writing emails and unsubscribe lists and all of those things, I think it's important that we keep our perspective. Okay, and Ashley, I want you to weigh in on this. We talk about it a lot. You're on the front lines with our clients, but we talk about how donors love to give, right? And I think it's important that people remember that. When you're writing an email, it's very easy to think, I've got to write the world's greatest email that's ever been written. It's got to convince a whole bunch of people to make a gift, right? And then we talk about welcome series, and we're like, all right, how soon is too soon? This person just made a gift. I probably shouldn't bother them for at least another 6 months or so, or maybe next year when the annual appeal rolls around. I don't want to bug them. And you kind of get in your head about not bothering people, not harassing people. Thoughts on that? I mean, we always talk about this internally, but just this idea that donors like to give. Is that still true? Is in your experience?
They do like to give, and they like to build relationships too. And so when you're emailing them and sending them the thank you note, we get in our heads and we overthink it, but it's not. Just sit down and type the email. Thank you so much for your gift. It's doing all of these great things, and that's well received by the donors.
And I think it's important on that note. It's not magic, right? We get these questions all the time. And yes, we A/B test the heck out of things and we know what works and what doesn't. But there is no magic potion. There's nothing tricky that you can do in your email to like convince somebody to give again if they don't want to give, right? So your donors that support you, they love giving to your organization with very few exceptions. And we're going to talk about one of those later. But just keep that in mind. The people that you're writing for, when you're writing these emails, they gave to you for a reason. Okay. If this is a welcome series, that's because they made their first gift. There's a reason they gave that first gift. Keep that in mind. Don't psych yourself out. Don't think you can't bother them. They do want to hear from you. That's why they're giving to you. All right, so now we're going to move into a little bit of the science stuff, and then we're going to talk about the content of the emails, and we're going to talk about how to set them up. There's a ton of research on the first 90 days on what happens when a donor makes a gift. How soon can you reapproach them? Is there this magic window? What does the science say? Let's take a look at some of the data. And I want to start with donor retention rates. This is from the Fundraising Effectiveness Project, which is wonderful. I think that's an AFP working group that does all this great research. What they found was that a first-time donor retention rate is 23%, right? If they make one gift, the odds that you're going to keep them around to make another gift, 23%. If they make that second gift, if they become a repeat donor, the odds of you keeping them around go up to 60%, right? 60% of people that make a second gift continue on to go make additional gifts. And of course, if you can get them to be a monthly donor, they'd stick around forever. The only thing, Stacy, what's the only thing that stops a monthly donor?
Their credit card expiring, probably, right?
What are the only two things that stop a monthly donor? Credit card
I don't know the
expiring.
other
Sometimes they pass away. Sometimes that happens and they go on to their eternal reward. But once somebody sets up that monthly recurring gift, it takes a lot to stop them. And even with a lot of the smarter CRMs we work with, they have credit card updater, right? So it'll follow them around. You don't even need to worry about the credit card expiring. Okay, so we know that's important. And really what we're talking about here today is between that 23 and 60%, how do you get people from a first-time donor to a repeat donor? Because all sorts of great things happen after that. The value, let's quantify it. If someone gives again, right? If somebody's a one-time donor, their 5-year donor value, and this is from, I want to give credit, this is from Bloomerang, research project they did, which we love. Bloomerang has great marketing content. If they make a one-time gift, $47 is typically the 5-year value of that donor. If they give again within 3 months, this 90-day window, their 5-year value on average goes up to $511. And it goes down with incredibly steady precision the farther out they make their second gift. So what this tells us is the sooner you can get someone to make that second gift, really within that first 3 months, if they give in that first 3 months, their lifetime value is double those who just give again the following year. Ashley, this is eye-opening for us. A lot of our clients, we work with a whole lot of Catholic dioceses, right? And in Catholic dioceses, we run these big annual appeals, similar, right, to colleges and universities. Do you want to talk about the shift in mindset that's taken place the last couple of years?
Yeah, so really reaching out to those donors in the most heartfelt way. So sending that email, not overcomplicating it, and sending almost fewer e-newsletters and more one-to-one emails that are, don't have the header images and the footer images and things like that. Because we have such great technology that allows us to do that. So it's not time consuming for your team.
Yes, I agree with that completely. And let's talk about it. I describe it as this. I describe it as the old way, right? So don't take offense if you're still doing this, but it is the old way, right? The old way is just what Ashley said. Connecting through donors through email, the old way was a newsletter. And the schedule was, when did we send the newsletter, Ashley?
Once a month, the same day of the week, every month. It's
That's
very
right.
predictable.
Right. First Monday of the month. That's when we know it's going out. Do we know who reads it? No, we don't. We don't have any idea. How many hours did it take to put together that newsletter? It took millions of hours, right? Millions and millions. Staff, Ashley, you've run way more nonprofit fundraising shops than I have. Like, I imagine there's people who this is a big part of their job was putting together the newsletter.
Yes, you have the writers and the designers and then the editor, and then somebody else has to proofread it and make the changes. And you've realized you've poured hours into this newsletter that really gets skimmed over by most people that receive it.
Yes. Both anecdotally and the studies will show you the same thing, right? It's marketing. They don't read it in the same way. And we did it because that's just what we did the year before. Like the number one reason you do anything is because we've always done it this way. So this is the old way. The good news is technology makes it easier to move from bulk email, one size fits all e-newsletter to custom personalized emails directly to the donor. This is the image when I plugged all of that phrasing into ChatGPT, they put this together for me. And if you guys aren't using ChatGPT yet, Rob can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I believe we've actually done a webinar on AI and how to use this stuff. What it's doing now for creating just simple, silly images that you need for presentations is worth its weight in gold for that alone. There's a couple more in here that you can spot. Okay, so moving from newsletters to heartfelt emails, you want somebody to smile. This is a donor who just got your email and is from a real person, and she thinks, "Oh my gosh, that's great! Thank you for thinking of me." This is a more accurate picture of your donor. Stacy, why is this a more accurate picture of the donor than the last one?
Their age is
Yeah.
closer to your average donor age.
Average donor age is 68. It has always been 68. It will always be 68. We love to talk about younger donors. Yes, they do exist, but not anywhere near in large enough amounts for you to justify all the work you're putting in to getting those younger donors. The average donor is older because that's just the cycle of life. That's when you start giving more. So make sure that you're writing for your average donor. And after they read your email, they should look like this. Okay. E-newsletters are not going to make them feel like superheroes. An email from Ashley saying, hey, I just saw your gift coming across my desk, and I just want you to know, I think you're fantastic, right? Thank you, Bob and Susan for giving. It's incredible. You guys are our best donors. We love you so much. Like that is how they should feel. Because of your gift, we were able to feed 10 people this week, or we're able to put a backpack on a kid that didn't have one and needed it for school, whatever that might be, make them feel like a hero. I want to highlight even deeper the power of email here before we get into the actual content of it. This is one of our most famous studies we did. It was for a client in Phoenix. It was in the Diocese of Phoenix. A good friend of mine at the time was the advancement director at Conde. The experiment we ran, we took Phoenix's annual appeal list and we divided it into two groups, Group A and Group B. Group A got heartfelt emails from a real person, from the development director, from Conde, throughout the year. Group B did not. They got what we'd always been doing years, over the course of years, the annual appeal. Phoenix was wonderful enough to let us run this big long test, right, and then measure the results. So we did it over the course of the year. Every 2 or 3 weeks, the folks in Group A got a heartfelt email from a real person. The folks in Group B did not. What we learned, without going into the details, because Rob can send you the link where we talk about fundraising emails and everything we learned, the cut into the chase of it, what we learned was that every nonprofit should be emailing your donors a lot more often. They should be sending personal heartfelt emails, not something from like a do not reply at charity.org from a real person, from Stacy Cope at nonprofit. Don't use photos or graphics. Don't overload it. All the things Ashley said. Don't make it a newsletter. Don't have your designer create the world's greatest graphic banner to put at the top, because all it's going to do is trigger people to think this is marketing. This isn't from a real person. Don't use hyperlinks. Use the raw URLs. All those things that we've always taught. And follow this 8-to-1 nourishment ratio. So 8 touches for every time you do one ask. Every nonprofit should be doing this. Today's webinar falls in a little section of this on how do you do it for new donors. I always get the question, how often should we email? We say 34 times a year. 30 emails about impact and appreciation, 4 invitations to donate. And what we found is if you do this, and again, we have an entire webinar on this if you guys want to tackle it, people who received the emails were 62% more likely to give to the appeal. They were 3 times more likely to renew their gift, meaning they didn't lapse. There were 2.5 times larger gifts coming from the folks who received the email, and they were 3 times more likely to make a recurring gift. Any one of those, if you're a development director on the call today, you would kill for those stats, right? How can I make my gifts 2.5 times larger? How can I make someone 3 times more likely to renew their gift? The answer is by emailing them heartfelt emails from a real person, and we're going to talk about today how you do that with your new donors. If you want to see what 34 emails looks like visualized, it's there. Okay. Now, one subset. So everybody knows, actually, we've covered don't send newsletters, send real emails. We've covered make it heartfelt, right? And all the data, like good things that happen when you send heartfelt emails. Now we're going to focus on a subset of new donors. So this is somebody who just entered your nonprofit. We want to reach out to them. There are 8 topics that we use at PSG for new donor welcome series, and I've got them all laid out here. So you've got a personal thank you, which is what Ashley said. I'm going to share a sample of that in a minute. Just say, I'm a real person. I'm the development director. I'm the advancement appeal director. I'm whoever it might be. I'm the executive director. I wanted to reach out to you, Stacy, and say thank you for making the gift. That's a personal thank you. Doesn't have to be any more than that. Welcome to the team is welcome. You're joining the fight against, juvenile diabetes or whatever it might be. A special content offer. This doesn't happen a whole bunch in our clients. I think it happens more on like if you're joining like in political fundraising, yes, or maybe like a large national fundraising outfit that has like a special ebook or something. Ashley, have we ever done any sort of special content offer?
Not usually. They're not as common in the people that we work with, but they are there. It's an opportunity.
Right. I mean, it could be, if you're working in the religious space, it could be a prayer intention or something like that. But I've seen a lot of nonprofits that have, ebooks or again, whatever it might be, some research project that they've been working on. So it's less common, but maybe it fits you. A survey is big. We do use surveys all the time. Donors love hearing from real people, and they love sharing their thoughts, right? If you can tell them, here's what the survey is, here's exactly how long it's going to take and how we're going to use it, they will take your survey, and you're going to find out all sorts of great things. An impact story, most nonprofits are pretty great about impact stories. By now, thank you for your gift. I want to tell you about Mark, right? Mark is a young student. He didn't have a backpack. He was hungry every day. You have helped us help him. Here's what we did. Monthly ask, inviting them to take that gift and make a small monthly ask. If it's in a welcome series, it should be a very low ask. Somebody gave $50, you can ask them if they want to give $5 a month, right, to join the cause to do XYZ. Quick update email is informal, and the prompt to reply email, I'm going to share a sample of that in a minute. The good news for everybody on this call today is that you don't just have to take a look at what those topics are and then come up with it. We know how hard it is to start with a blank slate. We actually have all of these emails written for you, and you will get the link when you get the recording tomorrow to download this, and you can customize these to your heart's content, right? So the 8 topics we talked about, we show you exactly how we would do it. As always, we write it so that you can customize it, right? Insert your own details, insert your own names, but it gives you a starting point to go forward with your heartfelt emails. I want to highlight one example. Then I want to get to what probably Stacy people are most interested in, which is how the heck do we do this, right? How do we set it up? How do we create the welcome series to trigger it and work? So a simple connection email. Ashley, you had mentioned earlier, don't send newsletters, don't over design stuff. Tell me, I mean, this on the screen, we're using this for a bunch of clients. Why are we using this? Is it effective? What do the people need to know?
So in all the testing that we did through the Diocese of Phoenix and that we continue to do years after, we're finding that the email should look exactly how it does on the screen. It's simple. It looks like you sat down and wrote your friend an email. So if you were to do that, you wouldn't have a design header or your headshot or a signature or an opt-out option in the closing footer. It just looks like you sat down and really were speaking to them. And so what we're finding with this is that having this simple email, the result is that they respond to you. They think it's a one-on-one email and they're responding back, and there's a relationship that's built there, and then that continues on from there.
Yep. And this is what you would write if you had all the time in the world, right? You would sit down and tell every single donor, like, this is me, I'm a real person, thank you for your gift. What's nice is that technology allows us to do this at scale, and we're going to have Stacy kind of walk us through there. Before we get there, I'm going to do my favorite thing in the world, which is I'm going to manage your expectations. Okay. So this goes back to the part about donors love giving. As you sit down to write these emails, especially if it's a new donor, you're on the front lines of an unknown audience, right? If you're writing to existing donors, you know that they love you, you know that they support your organization, it's easier. Here, you might be writing to somebody that just attended a gala event that you've never met, or a golf outing or something else. So I want to manage your expectations. I'm going to pull back to one of my favorite quotes ever. If you have not read Breakthrough Advertising, you should read it. We are all advertisers. It's just so full of great, great advice. This is the quote. I'm going to paraphrase. It says, good copy cannot create a desire for a product. In this case, as a nonprofit, the desire is to support feeding the hungry, right? Or sheltering the homeless, or you have a homeless shelter. You cannot write a letter or an email that is so incredibly compelling that somebody who doesn't care about solving homelessness is suddenly going to care about it. Give up on that goal, because what you can do and what you should focus on is take someone's existing desire to solve homelessness or to address this problem and channel it towards something productive. That's your job. Your job is not to take somebody who doesn't care about your school or your university or your homeless shelter or your humane society. You're not going to write for somebody who doesn't care about it. You're going to write for somebody who does care about it, who's not yet supporting you, or who you want to invite to give in a bigger way, right? To get more involved. Stacy, does that make sense? Am I butchering that?
No.
Okay. So I think it's important, because otherwise if you don't think this way, you are going to get discouraged. You're going to start to get unsubscribes, and you're going to think, oh my gosh, I didn't convert all these new donors into second-time donors. Many of them were not going to be converted because they were just there for another reason. And to help you visualize that, I want to talk for a second about what this looks like. If you are a longtime fan of our webinars, you recognize these 6 people. These are our donor personas. We write for them with different strategies in our appeals. Each one has something different that we want to focus on. We have entire webinars on this. I'm sure Rob can drop the sample in the chat so you can go visit the webinar. But these are the 6 donor personas. I'm going to add a 7th today, okay? And the 7th is just visiting Jerry. Okay. So he's joining Steady Eddie and First Gift Fran, Checkbox Charlie, Campaign Kathy. Just visiting Jerry is joining our list of personas. And here's what you need to know about just visiting Jerry. As you write your new donor welcome series, let's talk about Jerry. Where did he come from? Well, Jerry is in your list and ended up in your CRM because his firm bought a table at your gala event, right? Or maybe his buddy invited him to go on the golf outing that you do every year, right? And you, like a good nonprofit, took all of those signups and you brought them into your CRM, and now they ended up on your plate as a potential new donor. Okay. Maybe he made a gift to honor his great aunt, right? A tribute, someone that has not even from in state, but they made a gift to your, local dog shelter because that's what great Aunt Sally wanted, was people to give to this dog shelter. Okay. He is just visiting. He is not going to become a longtime donor to your organization. Or maybe his son volunteered and he had to sign a parent permission form, and that's how he ended up. Ashley, you've run gala events and all this stuff, for a long time. Does this ring true? How do people end up on these new donor lists? I guess give us some perspective here.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, even the first one, your company sponsored an event, you got invited to sit at the table, you may or may not be invested in that mission. And that happens very often. If you're running events, you see this time and time again. So this is where, your emails can bring these people to fruition or to not, and that's okay. So, excuse me.
Yep.
Yes, anyway.
So they get in your list. Some of them are going to, don't write them all off, right? So if you're looking at a list of gala attendees, many of them will support your organization. And if your board has done its job, the people that they filled the tables with or that they invited to the golf tournament are people that could potentially care about it. But there's always going to be folks who don't, and that's okay. So what I want us to remember here, as we're talking about setting up our new donor welcome series, here's the message that I would send. I think this is a great message from an executive director to an unknown list, right? People that just attended a golf event or a gala event. I would say something like, hey, Jerry, of course, I'd use his real name. Hopefully you're capturing first names, putting them in there. As you heard at the event, we do some pretty amazing stuff here. I'd love to tell you about it, but here's the hook. I know that sometimes people just get asked to attend an event, and you may have just been there as a guest. And I don't want to presume that you're passionate about, giving kids backpack for schools or whatever it might be, or the work we do here at Kemper Catholic High School, or maybe you're not an alum, whatever it might be. I don't want to presume that you care about ending homelessness here in Omaha. You may just be generous to other organizations, whatever that might be. But if you are interested in our work, I want, let me know. And there's a bunch of ways that you can get involved, not just financially. You can be a volunteer. I can put you on our list to receive any updates on our organizations. Of course, you can make a financial contributions, but though your level of support's entirely up to you. Just let me know. This is a rock star email to send to someone who just attended an event. And you can copy this directly from the slides. I don't think it's in our samples that we're sending. But what will happen is Jerry will read this email and he'll think, holy moly, that is a really thoughtful person. One, they took time to write me individually. Two, they know who I am, or they, giving me the off ramp that I don't have to feel guilty if I'm not passionate about this thing, which probably then triggers them to want to support you more because you made that human connection. And if he unsubscribes, that's fine, right? That's perfectly normal to unsubscribe. Ashley, I'll put you on the spot again. Talk to me about unsubscribes. Talk to me about our working with nonprofits who, in many cases, put way too much time and energy into avoiding unsubscribes. What have we learned?
Yeah, I think they are so cautious about the unsubscribes, it almost paralyzes them from sending the emails, which if someone unsubscribes from your emails, that's okay. They aren't the people that are going to be your donors to your organization. They didn't really care about that mission. And so it's okay to kind of clean the slate a little bit and get them off your list and focus on the ones who do care.
It is a great thing. And maybe this is a conversation we should have with comms directors, not just development directors. But I remember in the early days when PSG was just me and Rob Sims on the call here, we had a client and it was a high school. They'd never emailed, alumni before, but they asked for their email all the time. And we emailed alumni and they got, 15 or 20 unsubscribes and they lost their mind. They're like, this is horrible. We've never got unsubscribes before. What are we going to do? And Rob and I are looking at each other. We're like, well, what were you going to use the list for if not to invite people to participate and like come to reunions and stuff? Like, what good were those 15 people in your list if it was just completely out of whack incentives, right? Their incentive was, we want to get as many emails as possible. Our incentive is, we want to connect with the people who care about the organization. So it's okay for unsubscribes. Don't freak out about unsubscribes. It's a part of life. It just means that you can focus on the folks who do care about your organization, who are givers and will continue to give. All right, setting up email series. So let's get to the technical side of things here. Stacy, your time to shine. Excuse me. A lot of our attendees are on Razor's Edge. So we're going to talk about Razor's Edge. We're going to talk about Virtuous. Then we're going to talk about some automation stuff. So first, if you're in Razor's Edge NXT, what are you doing to set up a new donor welcome series?
So these are really, really easy to set up. If you haven't tried it, they're in the workflows, and they basically are automated. So when a constituent meets the criteria for whatever it is that you tell it, right, makes their first gift or whatever it is, then they'll get added to this workflow. And in this example, we'll send them an email. Then we'll wait a couple days, then we'll give them a call and ask them to volunteer, ask them to come to an event or whatever it is, right? So whatever like your action steps are that you want to do with the new donor, you add in, your series of emails and your series of things. These emails come out of the email marketing section of NXT. So there's a second tab there. There's the place where you create your bulk emails, and then there's a second tab for workflow emails. So you create the template there, add your merge fields and things like that, and then they kind of flow into this workflow when they need to.
Yeah, and you set a trigger, say send this email, wait 3 days, send this email.
Yep.
Okay. What about limitations? Blackbaud being blackballed. What are things that probably drive people nuts?
Yeah, so the only things you can do inside these workflows, you can send an email from the email marketing section. You can have delays, and you can add an action. So you can have like a tickler, right? But you can't send an email to a fundraiser or do anything else. There's also obviously the limited number of merge fields like you have in any NXT emails. So you can do first name, but you can't do spouse name or whatever the options are.
Right.
You all know what the options are in there. There's not very many.
That's the one that seems to trigger people most, is the idea you can't get as personalized as you want, right? With a Dear Nick or Dear Nick and Holly or whatever like that.
Yep.
We had a good question that just came in. Does NXT track email opens and email sends and clicks and things?
I believe so. I believe that lives in that email marketing tile on the constituent page, but you can only see it in WebView. I suspect that's where these end up, although I can't promise that.
Right. And if Rob knows the answer to, he could chime in. Rob's done a bunch of the email marketing for us as well. Rob, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, there's a couple different things as everything changes within NXT. They used to automatically show all the emails that were sent. Again, this is a NXT email that is sent. You can see on WebView, as Stacy mentioned. You used to be able to see all those without having to click on anything. Now you have to actually click into it, open it, and see which emails you can see which ones they've received, you can see which ones they've opened, you can see which ones they've clicked on, and if it actually spurred a gift because you had a direct link to an NXT giving page, you can see they gave because of that email. So
awesome.
Cool.
Okay. So this is the place to start, right? If you are using Razor's Edge and you agree with us that it's time to move your communications in a little more personalized way, a great place to start. Set up a new donor welcome series. Use some of the templates that you're going to get from us tomorrow. Remember all the things that Ashley said about make it personal, make it real, don't over design it. Set it up in a workflow. Okay, so that's an example. What about if you're on Virtuous? We have an increasing number of clients that are moving over to Virtuous. What do we need to know there?
Virtuous was designed with stuff like this in mind, which is so cool. So they do this responsive thing where their system is constantly reading records and kind of finding out what donors are doing and adjusting as they go. So there is a template in their automation section called New Donor Welcome Series, and it's already built out and it's super detailed and it's really, really good. So if you're a Virtuous user and you have not done this, you need to go check it out. The things I like about this, it automatically adds tags to records. So you know this is a first-time donor and that they're in the welcome series. Once they make their second gift, it removes that first-time donor tag. You can, add and adjust all the same things, right? You can send emails to them. You can set yourself a task to call, all the stuff. So it's really cool. Check it out.
Awesome. Okay. So, and again, we don't have a dog in this fight. We work with a lot of different CRMs. Virtuous, we do enjoy how they're newer, right? So they're built with this stuff in mind. Blackbaud was built, 20, 30 years ago, and it's kind of adding and bolting things on here and there. So we want to give props to Virtuous and to Blackbaud for moving in this direction. But what about Stacy? What about actually, sorry, let me back up one, because there's a question while we're on the topic. Somebody asked about Luminate Online. When we were talking about the Razor's Edge emails, do we have any experience in Luminate Online?
Not building these workflows, but if you have Razor's Edge, the workflows should work. If you're not sending emails out through NXT, though, I think the emails would come from NXT, not from Luminate. So that would be something to experiment with and try out and play with a little bit, but it should still work. That I don't know if it will work kind of the same way all your other Luminate stuff does, but you should still be able to schedule things out in Razor's Edge.
Yep. Yep. Well said. Okay. So what if, let's back up. What about we have a lot of Razor's Edge users who are like, yeah, we've done the workflow, work center stuff, but I want more, right? I want it to come, I want what Nick and Ashley were saying. I want it to come from a real person. I want to be able to personalize it. I want to do a whole bunch of different things. Or I want, as database administrator, to draft this on behalf of my major gift officer. So that they can send it and edit it. I want to talk about the work that you've been doing on automation, because this is super cool and everybody loves it. Help me explain what Power Automate is, what automation is. Can you give us the 30-second version of what we're talking about here?
Yep, Power Automate is a Microsoft product that basically takes API connections to all of your favorite applications in the world and brings them kind of into one place so they can interact with each other a little bit on a limited scale. So Blackbaud has released a custom connector. So this means that we can now retrieve Razor's Edge data inside of Power Automate and then use that data to send emails directly from Outlook or from Gmail. We can use that information to merge letters. We can use that information to pre-fill forms or surveys or add tasks to your Asana or all of those kinds of things.
Okay. So Work Center gets you kind of baby steps in the way there. You can set up some things and test it out. If you really want to do it and blow the doors off of your development team, you're looking at an automation solution. So I want to show what Stacy and her team have been building, because this is amazing, super cool, and you may be able to build it on your own, or if you want some help, we can probably help you with it. So what I'm looking at here is a draft folder in Outlook. Okay. As all of us know, most development people don't live inside of Razor's Edge all day long. As much as that we all wish that they would and they'd track their actions, most people live inside of Outlook. What Stacy and her team have built is this thing where a major gift officer opens up his or her laptop in the morning and sees a whole bunch of emails drafted for him or her already, right? So in this example, I'm a major gift officer. I'm clicking on this email that's sitting in my drafts folder, and it's just sitting right there. And if I know the person, so this one is to John, and it's saying, hey, John, thanks for your gift. And I think this is the 8th time you've given our organization. You're incredible. I open that up. It's already written for me. It's served up on a platter. If I don't know the person, if I don't like it, I just delete it. If I do know the person, I just write a sentence at the top. Say, John, it was great seeing you at the golf outing too. Or, hey, how's, Melinda and the kids, or whatever it might be. And then I send it off. Okay. So this is, again, taken to all of this to its obvious conclusion. We know, and we start at the beginning, emails work. People like emails. Technology has allowed us to personalize emails in new ways, so we don't have to send newsletters. Now automation plus that technology is allowing us to serve this stuff up on a platter for your development office. So when they come in the morning, the emails are already written for them, right? From a real person who's assigned to them as a major gift officer in their portfolio. In the organizations that Stacy has rolled this out for, it has blown their minds, right? This is what everybody's always wanted, is just to be able to have a little mini technical robot assistant that does all this stuff for you and serves you up a whole bunch of emails. So Stacy, these emails could be, let's say somebody increased their gift, right? So they made a gift last year to the appeal. They gave a gift this year. They increased it. You want to call them out for it. Yeah. Could be birthday, could be a milestone gift. Thank you. It's the 20th gift you've given. Sybunts and Libunts. I know you've done amazing stuff on that. I think we've done entire webinars on that. Rob, if you want to drop the magic email link in the chat, people will eat that up. New giving tier, and then what we're talking about today, first time donor, right? So if you're creating a welcome series, do it in Work Center, or use Virtuous and use their automation tool if you're on Virtuous. Or if you're in Razor's Edge and want something more sophisticated, you can serve it up through Automate. And that way you can decide who sends it, who gets it. You can give them a chance to personalize it before they click send, and all that good stuff happens. So those are the 3 different ways you can do it. I'm going to pause there because people are always interested about the Automate Genius. If you want to know more about Automate Genius, I'll give you a chance right here. So if you want to know more, let us know and we can kick you note. We've got some demos that we've done. This is stuff that most everybody can learn on their own if you have all the time and energy. or if you want Stacy and her team just to put something together for you, they can certainly do that. It may not be tomorrow, Stacy, is that fair?
It's fair.
It
We're
may
getting
not.
caught up. We're getting caught up. Yeah.
It may not be next week. It may not even be in June, but we will eventually get caught up and be able to help you with some amazing stuff. Stacy, what else on the automation side as people write in their questions here? We've talked about the emails, but I mean, tell us about notifications and some of the other cool stuff that you're doing.
Notifications are great. That basically just sends an email or puts something into a Microsoft Teams channel that says, you know, basically whatever it is you wanted to know. We got a gift over $5,000, or we have a new donor, or, you know, so and so was marked deceased, or whatever it is. So notifications, super, super helpful to kind of put the data in front of your executive director, your gift officers, or whoever is not looking at Razor's Edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledgements, gift acknowledgements, right? So we all remember when Microsoft integration left Razor's Edge and we were all traumatized and worried. The new kind of way to automate acknowledgement letters is way, way easier than anything we ever had in Razor's Edge, and really, really smooth. We can merge all of your donor acknowledgement letters, put them all into one big file and email it to you to print, and then you send them out the door. Super, super easy.
That's incredible. Andy Schrader and I were in Chicago, hence the beautiful artwork behind me in the hotel here. We had a client here who they have a staff person who spends a lot of time every single day putting together an email of like all the gifts that came in the day before. Is that something you can automate?
So easy to automate that and put it kind of, yeah, take that whole hour from that person every single day that they're typing things into a list, have the computer type the list for you and send it out.
Just set it up. Just automate, send every morning, send a digest of every gift that came in and email it to these people or put it in this Teams channel, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's super cool. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you all. So the people that do want to learn more will reach out, of course, and get you the information. Let's take questions. Ashley, have you've had a minute? Any questions come in that grabbed you that we want to cover here?
So there's clarification. Does this only integrate with Blackbaud? Can you just clarify, Stacy?
So the automations that we build with Microsoft Power Automate does only really integrate with Razor's Edge NXT. There are lots and lots of integration options. We're just not really building them at the moment. So if you're interested in this and on a different platform, look into it. Check out Zapier. Check out API connections to your database, and you will probably be able to do some of these things. So, and give me a call too if you have questions on any of that. I can help track down things, and we've looked at a lot of them. So,
yeah, and on that point too, this is, let me just spend 30 seconds explaining what we're dealing with. Like the world is changing, right? Software in the old days used to try and be everything. Software was built so that everything you wanted to do was inside that one piece of software. That is not how the world works anymore, right? Software is now being built so that it can work seamlessly with other pieces of software through API. Anybody that's using Razor's Edge or Salesforce or Virtuous, or I assume Bloomerang, but I don't know for sure, Classy, Neon, Little Green Light, it's going to have an API connection. You can use tools to connect to that API connector and then automate things. So what we're doing is stuff that you can do on your own. If you have time and energy and brain power and you're really passionate about this, do what Stacy did and go teach yourself and learn how to do it, and we can guide you along the way. If you don't have the time and energy or whatever it might be, you can reach out to us. We're happy to get you started and build some automations for you. So that's how we do it. So yes, it's on other organizations, or sorry, connects to other software. We only connect to Razor's Edge because that's what we know and we're amazing at it, right? So that's where we have brilliant Razor's Edge people, so that's why we do it. Question, Elise. So Stacy, were you following Blackbaud? It had that AI thing that they rolled out. What do we know about that?
So we played with it a little bit. It's very, it's not going to be as automated as some of the things we're talking about today. It's more for personalization and kind of individual outreach. You could definitely use it for something like this, but right now it's built to only do one thing at a time, and you kind of have to look at them. So I don't think it's necessarily a great match for, you know, like for example, for a new donor email, because for example, you can't necessarily even see who the new donors are when you go to that portal, right? It just lists the donors and it doesn't say these are the new ones, these are the old ones. So for this particular application, I wouldn't like it. It's really interesting and kind of fun to play with. So once it's live in your system, definitely go check it out and try out all the things. It can definitely give you some ideas writing wise, because it has the kind of AI copy editor, which is fun. And then, but if you're interested in doing that, it's a great way to kind of send everybody a totally different email every single time, which is cool if you have time for it.
Yep. So, and if you haven't used ChatGPT, use ChatGPT. There's a free version, there's a paid version. Same thing. I dare you all to go in and give it some bullet points on. Tell ChatGPT, say you're the executive director of so and so nonprofit. You want to write a really heartfelt email thanking somebody for this gift, and watch what it can do. So Blackbaud has taken that same chatbot functionality and dropped it in there. That part's cool. Connecting it and usability is less so, because it's kind of one-off stuff, right? So, but it's a good sign, right? They're heading in the right direction. Like all things AI, it's really exciting. And then you're like, oh, what's the practicality of it that I'm going to connect here to it? And it's not fully realized yet. Okay, other questions, please make sure to type them in here. Did I miss anything in the chat, Stacy or Ashley, as we went? I know somebody had asked about Luminate. I covered that one.
Talked about Luminate.
Okay. All right. Got some people saying nice things about Virtuous. I see. That's great. We like them too. Okay. Guys, if you don't ask questions, and we're going to get done early, and nobody wants that. So, Ashley, last chance for you then. Anything that we want to cover that we haven't yet? Anything you want to emphasize before we let people go?
Just start typing those heartfelt emails. Don't let it hold you back, because it really will bring out some great conversations with your donors. And I've seen it happen with different organizations, and it's great. The donors really feel like they're welcomed into your organization that way.
The responses you get are going to blow you away. Like we get them because our clients say, oh my gosh, Stacy built me this automation, and they forward us a response from someone, and it's exactly what you want. They're like, this was so thoughtful. Nobody ever reached out to me like this. I appreciate it. Like, I want you to have that same dopamine hit, that we get. So yes, start writing, start focusing on your new donors. Don't freak out when you get some unsubscribes, because it's a just visiting Jerry. That's okay. That's the system working. All right. Okay, so that's what it is. So thank you all for attending today. I'm going to catch a cab to the airport. Rob is going to send this out tomorrow to everyone with the links and the downloads. Look for more. We got a whole bunch more webinars coming up later this year. We'll announce soon. And if you have questions about automation, let us know. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Ready?